I have the St. George Marathon on October 4th that gives me around 5 months to train, and I wanted to walk you through my plan as far as training goes. I did a similar plan about 3 years ago, and that's when I set a PR of 2:58, so I broke 3 hours at this same marathon. So I wanted to walk through some of these things because maybe there's something you get from it, or you're just interested in how I train. And I'm going to break it down into four categories. So we have base work, we have speed work, we have strength training, and we have active recovery. And there's a lot of different things that can fall into this, but I have about 3 weeks before I start implementing speed work pretty heavily. So right now I'm just working on a base, and pretty much every single run is zone 1, zone 2. I'm working up to getting used to being at 50, maybe 60 miles a week, and so I'm just like strictly zone 2 easy running, even during my long runs. So if that means the last 3 miles I have to slow down dramatically because it's hot or I'm beat and so my heart rate's higher, I'm just slowing that down. I think this is good for me because I still feel somewhat new isn't the right word for running, but I've just had a weird couple of years where training wasn't as efficient, and I was dealing with some other things that was getting in the way of that. And now that I have all of that fixed, I want to get back to some sort of level of fitness and then stack things on top. I think one of the big mistakes people make with running is they look for quantity over quality. And listen, I've been there too. And at some point, yeah, I want to run 80, 90, 100 miles a week. But I don't want to run 100 miles a week and not have active recovery, not have strength work, not be able to do speed. And so if I have this base, which is really the first thing I want to talk about, then I can stack these things on top. And it's more important for me to run even just 40 or 30 miles a week, but still get active recovery in and still get strength training in and still get speed work in. So the plan is if I can get to about 50 miles per week where I feel comfortable, I feel good, I'm not destroyed throughout the week, and I can also live my regular life, then I can start stacking these other things on top of it to be able to have better success. So the goal is really to PR, so break my record of 2 hours, 58 minutes, and 45 seconds. I have some other thoughts out there, but I'm just trying to grasp if it's realistic, and I think the first month will kind of tell me if I can actually do what I want to do, but at least a PR, I mean, that's a win, so I'd be happy with a PR. So that's base work, right? If you're not familiar, that's easy running is what people say, running at a conversational pace. Really what it actually is being in your zone 2, maybe zone 1 heart rate zones. And so if you don't have those calculated, I would just Google how to calculate my heart rate zones. The best way to do it is to actually go into a lab and get it, tested and evaluated. I haven't done that yet, but I have someone I know that I trust to calculate my heart rate zone. So we're kind of going off of a guess, but I think generally it's going to work for me. So for me, zone 1 is up to 146 beats per minute. That would be more of a recovery, but it's still going to help with base. And then zone 2 is from like 147 beats per minute to 160. So pretty much all my miles right now are below 160 beats per minute unless it's a crazy hill or it's super hot. And like I said, I'll just slow it down. So I'm doing that, and I'm going to have probably 3-4 of these runs a week throughout the whole training block. So basically the setup is I'm going to run 5 days a week, maybe 6 depending. We'll see how I feel. I don't want to throw on more running and compromise those other things like I talked about. But basically I'll be running Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? And so Monday is going to be base work. Tuesday is going to be speed work. Sometimes Thursday is going to be base. Sometimes it's going to be speed. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Friday's base work, easy running. And then Saturday is going to it's always going to be a long run, but it's either going to be base work or I'm going to put speed into some of those miles. And I'll get into that when I talk about speed workouts. I just want to set the premise that the majority of my running is base work, and especially right now, all of it is because I want to make sure I'm comfortable at 50 miles a week. I don't get injured. I'm not exhausted throughout the day. I can fuel enough for that. And that's just going to set me up for success as I start to stack on these other things. Now let's talk about speed. So when I first ran that marathon where I broke 3 hours, basically what I did is I had some sort of mile repeat or interval work with miles. So it wasn't like VO2 max stuff like 400 meters. It was just maybe like 2x2 where I'd run 2 miles, mile recovery, run 2 miles at tempo. or the pace I wanted for the race. And so I'm going to be kind of mimicking that, where I have speed work on Tuesday. And then when I first did this type of training, on Saturday, I would implement some sort of speed work or interval work as well. So it was basically some sort of progression run, but in a reverse of what people are familiar with. Sometimes you like a fartlek, right? You increase your speed over the miles, and then you cool down. Basically what I did, and I was working with some other people who did this at the time, we would warm up for maybe like 5 miles or something like that, right? Maybe we were doing a 10 mile or a 15 mile or a 20 mile long run. So a good chunk of the beginning miles were just easy, getting warmed up, getting in the headspace to run tempo. And an example of this speed work was we do 3 miles at race pace, take a mile recovery, so it's a little bit easier. Then 2 miles at race pace, take a mile recovery, it's easier running. And then 1 mile at race pace, or some sort of tempo work, and then cool down. And so each set, if you will, if you're familiar with the gym, you have sets, right? There's like 3 sets, but each set got a little bit less in volume. It was still the same tempo, hopefully. And there were some days I blew up, and some days I was able to do it, and I felt like I could do more. But I want to do that. It was just really hard on my body, and so I'm going to try and do this 2-week cycle. So that brings in my interval work or VO2 max work, or like 400 meter, 200 meter repeats. So hopefully this is simple. I'm trying to explain this as simply as possible. So every Tuesday is always going to be some sort of mile repeat, or 2 miles at race pace, and then a break, and then 2 miles might be a 2x2 or something like that. I'll build on it and implement different things as the season goes on. And then either, depending on the week, Saturday I'll do that same workout I just explained, or it'll be speed work, interval work that are like 200 meter, 400 meter repeats on a Thursday. And so it'll be a 2-week cycle where every Tuesday I'm hitting that workout, and I have base runs throughout the week like normal. But 1 week it'll be the speed work on Saturday, and then it'll also be speed work on Thursday the following week. And so then that long run on the week I do those repeats, those intervals, it'll just be easy running or base work. And so I feel like that's going to be a little bit easier on my body, and I can also do some 400 meter repeats, which I'm not that familiar with. I just want to get used to it and see if that's something that is going to be helpful in the future, or just increase my VO2 max. Like, that's not the goal, but I know that's going to be helpful, and it's just something new. I want to experiment with it and see how it works. So that's the second thing. That's base work, speed work. So we've talked about base work and easy running and speed workouts, and that's the plan. And then again, I'm trying to do all of this on 50 miles a week. I might increase volume as time goes on. We'll see how I'm feeling. That brings us to strength training. I've made strength training super easy for me. I used to do the same kind of full body workout, especially when I was running years ago. But now I'm trying to do more of what... Oh, my dog's eating my chapstick. I should probably watch that. You guys know there's no edits on this channel. Here, take this toy. So, I was wondering what that sound was. Anyways, so where was I? Strength training. I used to do full body workouts, and I want to focus on strength and kind of do more of a push-pull legs. Like, I've experimented a lot with strength training over the last 5-7 years, and in the previous marathon I've been talking about, when I broke 3 hours for myself, I did more of a full upper body workout 3 days a week and didn't really do much for my legs besides running, obviously, and then I did calf raises every single day, just body weight. And now I've really found that I like a push-pull legs type of split. And I used to hit the gym 5 days a week. For me, where running's more important, and I'm not trying to bodybuild per se, I just want to be stronger. I have simplified it and done basically 45-minute, maybe an hour-long workout 3 days a week. And so if you're familiar with push-pull legs, I'm doing chest and shoulders and triceps on one day, I'm doing legs one day, and then I'm doing back and bis the other day. Now, I throw a core workout on the end of all of these. So typically what I've been doing and what I plan to keep doing is Monday, I'll do push, and then I throw in something like hanging leg raises at the end. Tuesday, which will be in the afternoon when I lift, because in the morning I'll be doing speed workouts. So I want to get the most out of my speed workouts and then crush my legs, because the next couple days I have 1 day off. And then typically an easy day, versus the sometimes it's going to be intervals like I talked about, and we'll see how that works out. It's new to me. So then I'll do leg day on Tuesday after that Tuesday speed work session in the morning, and then I do something like cable crunches. And then on Thursday or Friday, it'll depend on how I'm feeling, because all I want to do is hit the gym 3 days a week, so I'm a little flexible. I'm going to do back and bis. And then I'll throw in planks on my pull day. So I've liked doing a lot of core stuff, and maybe someday I'll pull back on that. I just don't like doing 30-minute core workouts. I'd rather just get the most out of a couple sets, and then I think my core can recover pretty fast and it's not totally destroyed. And so I feel like I can do a lot more volume with that. And it's something that's worked with me or worked for me. It might change at some point. And so those are the 3 strength training sessions. Again, one of the points I'm trying to hit with this video is it's quality over quantity. I would love to run 80 miles a week. I love running that much. I don't want to run 80 miles a week and have to take out my strength training and have to take out my active recovery, or just slog through some miles where I could be healthy and feel good throughout them, right? So if I'm able to implement all this stuff and I feel like I have the time and bandwidth and energy to stack on more volume, I will. My minimum is 50 miles as long as I hit all these other things, because strength training is good for you. You get gains from that, reduce your injury risk. I also just like the gym, so that's important to me. Now that leaves this 4th category I want to talk about, which is active recovery. If you're not as familiar with this, it's still moving, it's still some sort of exercise. There's a lot of different types of active recovery, but I'll be doing these on this kind of stuff on like Sunday and Wednesday on my day off. So the premise behind active recovery is because you're still doing something, but it's not super intense. You're actually promoting circulation, getting less tight from all the things you've done. It helps you recover. That's why it's called active recovery. So on Wednesday, for example, I might bike on my stationary bike for 30 minutes. I have one in my garage, or maybe I'll do it for an hour. Yoga is a good example. Walking, hiking, there's swimming. It can be active recovery. The idea is that the intensity isn't crazy. It's just easy, more of that zone 1, zone 2 stuff, because you don't want to destroy yourself, so then you're not. Like, if I went crazy hard on the bike on Wednesday, my active recovery day, and then I have repeats and intervals on Thursday, but I've destroyed myself on the bike, I'm not going to get as much as I can out of those intervals. And so active recovery is supposed to be easy, supposed to be chill. There might be days I decide to skip it, maybe I'm extra beat up and so I sleep longer, but we'll just see how that goes. And fortunately I have 2 dogs, so I walk a lot, and that has always been helpful as far as active recovery goes. So those are the 4 pillars, if you will, of this training block. I obviously have to recover and sleep and eat enough, and there's nutrition and fueling. I can make other videos on that. I have some ideas on how I'm going to go about that, this training block. But really, as far as the training, the exercise goes, that's what I'm going to try my best to do. And I might ditch repeats. I don't know, like, that's new to me again. I found that I liked the 2 speed workouts a week. It was really hard to do pretty much every Saturday, those intervals, and it happened to work, but I wonder if some of those long runs were just base work, opposed to throwing in 7 tempo miles, as well as what I was doing on Tuesday. I wonder if I'll just feel better, and part of what I'm trying to accomplish throughout this training block is also enjoy the rest of my life, and I think I've always enjoyed my life. I have things that are important to me that I do and I experience outside of training. The problem is if I'm just destroyed with training, mentally I'm not present. I'm waiting for family dinner to end so I can go to sleep. And I don't want that this training season. I want to give it everything I can, while also understanding there's other areas of my life that are important to me. Like these YouTube videos, right? If I just jump into running 100 miles a week, let's say I don't get injured, but I'm able to do it, I'm going to have less bandwidth to do stuff like this, or hang out with my family, or walk my dog. So I'm looking at my whole life, obviously, and I think that's healthy for athletes. So there's benefit to seasons where you just go dark. I've done that. I've learned from that, and I have a life that I want to live, and I also want to train. So it'll be interesting trying to balance all of this at once. Excuse me. That's really part of the goal of this training block. But of course, I want a PR. So hopefully, you got something out of this video. If you like running content, that's what this channel is about. I pretty much do just unedited, just talk. I sit down and write my notes and explain my thoughts on certain things. And so if you like that kind of stuff, consider subscribing. If not, I still hope you got something out of this video, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.